We've all heard about suburban sprawl. As cities expand outward, density decreases, car dependency skyrockets, and single-family homes become the dominant residential choice. But have we ever talked about why it's a problem? Is it a problem? I mean, isn't that literally the American dream? A picket fence house in a sprawling suburban neighborhood? We're talking about prime real estate for the nuclear family. Yes, pun completely intended. What's wrong with that? Well, you've probably heard doubts in recent years about how affordable the American dream actually is. On top of reducing environmentally necessary green space, suburban sprawl often leads to higher housing and transportation costs, especially for moderate and low-income households. While housing in outer suburbs often appears cheaper, transportation costs like car ownership, fuel, and long commutes push total expenses beyond affordability. Research from the Center for Neighborhood Technology shows that many suburban areas exceed the recommended 45% affordability threshold when transportation is included. In regions like DFW, this often looks like families moving further out from the city for cheaper housing, but then spending hundreds more each month just to get to work on top of hours-long commutes. A big reason for this issue is that housing, transportation, and land use policies are not well aligned. Local zoning often limits housing density, while transportation investments, especially highways, encourage outward growth, reinforcing car dependence. While there are several other causes of and issues arising from suburban sprawl, I'd like to address the policy side today. Policy often requires different statutes based on where you are, so for the sake of simplifying things, I'm addressing suburban sprawl specifically within the context of the DFW area. Anyways, if it's a problem, how do we solve it? There are lots of ways to address the suburban sprawl issue, even just through policy alone. Let's look at how some other cities have tried it. Minneapolis eliminated single-family zoning in 2019, allowing duplexes and triplexes citywide. Early research shows that while the increase in housing has been gradual, it has steadily added new units without dramatically changing the neighborhood character. Similarly, Portland implemented its residential infill project, which allows up to 4plexes in most residential areas. This policy is expected to significantly increase housing supply and reduce displacement risk by expanding options in traditionally single-family neighborhoods. More broadly, planning research shows that these types of missing middle housing, think like duplexes, triplexes, and townhomes, are some of the most effective ways to increase housing supply in already developed areas, especially close to transit and job centers. So the takeaway here is that these policies don't create overnight change. They consistently increase housing supply over time without disrupting neighborhoods. This brings me to my own policy proposal: a missing middle zoning reform with a pilot program implemented at the local level. This approach would allow moderate density housing, again, think triplexes, duplexes, townhomes, in targeted areas near transit and job centers. Implementation would include updating zoning ordinances, launching pilot neighborhoods, streamlining permitting, and offering small incentives like fee waivers. Stakeholders include city councils, planning departments, residents, and developers. It's also relatively low cost compared to most other housing programs because you're changing rules, not building units. Most of the cost comes from planning, outreach, and administration, not construction, so cities can plan this without any major new spending. In DFW specifically, this policy would work best in areas that already have strong infrastructure, like along DART rail corridors, places like Las Colinas in Irving, or walkable suburban centers like downtown Plano. These areas already have transit access and job proximity, so adding moderate density housing here can reduce commute distances and overall cost burdens. It's not random upzoning everywhere, and I can assure you it's not high-rise density. It's incremental, strategic, and works to preserve the character of the area. Speaking of which, the main challenge to this is really NIMBY opposition, but evidence suggests that incremental, pilot-based approaches can reduce resistance and allow communities to adapt over time. There are lots of potential solutions to the sprawl problem. This option allows cities to take immediate action while preparing forward momentum for larger regional coordination efforts in the future. If nothing else, it serves as a practical first step towards addressing the disconnect between housing, land use, and transportation in the DFW area. So maybe the American dream really could be affordable, as long as you're willing to trade your picket fence for a few new neighbors.